Again, Dr. Teacher Mom, and we're just looking at how to fulfill your destiny today. And as you know, I am really focusing on characters from the Bible, role models from the Bible. So previously I spoke about Job, and today I'm going to talk about Samuel. We're going to read First Samuel and look at Hannah, his mother. So it's really about Hannah, his mom, that we're going to look at, and her situation and her problem and how she overcame all of that. Okay, so First Samuel 1. So there was a certain man from Ramathaim, a Zophite from the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu. And it's a lot of big names. The son of Tuhu, the son of Zoph. And it goes on to talk about their lineage. He had two wives. One was called Hannah and the other Peninnah. So Peninnah had children, but Hannah had none. How do we fulfill our destiny? Go back to that question. So we have Hannah here, and at this point, she is barren. She cannot have any children. She's unable to have children. And so what happens? So year after year, this man went up from his town to worship and sacrifice to the Lord Almighty at Shiloh, where Hophni and Phinehas, the two sons of Eli, were priests of the Lord. Whenever the day came for Elkanah to sacrifice, he would give portions of the meat to his wife Peninnah and to all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah he gave a double portion because he loved her, and the Lord had closed her womb. Okay. Her rival, so we have two wives, one has children, one cannot have any. And we're told that the Lord, for whatever reason, has closed her womb. Because the Lord had closed Hannah's womb, her rival kept provoking her in order to irritate her. So think about this. And infertility is an issue. This is a real deep issue. Really deep issue. So Hannah is suffering from infertility, and she has someone. And in other contexts of your life, when you're going through something, when something is so tender for you, there will always be people there ready to really attack that thing that is the tenderest, the deepest, that will affect you more. So we know that Hannah is going to be feeling very down because of this. And she kept provoking her in order to irritate her. This went on year after year. Whenever Hannah went up to the house of the Lord, her rival provoked her till she wept and would not eat. Her husband, Elkanah, would say to her, Hannah, why are you weeping? Why don't you eat? Why are you downhearted? Don't I mean more to you than 10 sons? Once when they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh, Hannah stood up. Now Eli the priest was sitting on his chair by the doorpost of the Lord's house. In her deep anguish, Hannah prayed to the Lord, weeping bitterly. And she made a vow saying, Lord Almighty, if you will only look on your servant's misery and remember me and not forget your servant, but give her a son, then I will give him to the Lord for all the days of his life, and no razor will ever be used on his head. So Hannah is there in the Lord's house, and she makes a promise. And I want you to think how many times in your deepest, darkest anguish you have made a promise to God. And then when it's fulfilled, what happens? Do you go back on that promise? And we're going to find out what Hannah does. So Hannah is there and she makes this compromise, this promise to God. And she says, if you give me a son, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give him back to you. That's what I will do. What happens next? As she kept on praying to the Lord, Eli observed her mouth. Hannah was praying in her heart and her lips were moving, but her voice was not heard. You know, there are so many times. I like this example of Hannah, because there's sometimes when you have so much to say to God. It's so deep, it's so tender, and what you're saying to him, you can't voice. You only have to say it in your heart to him. And Hannah was at this point. She wanted a child so badly. She was provoked. She was teased. And like I said before, we go to God, and sometimes we have to just pray and pray until what is to be fulfilled will be fulfilled. And this is what Hannah did. She goes to God and she prays. Last previous live that I went on, I spoke about Matthew 7, which talks about asking, making your requests known to God, and being diligent in making your requests. And Hannah does this. She shows her diligence. She journeys back to the house of the Lord. And every time she makes that sojourn, she makes her requests known. She outpours her heart to God and tells him of her wish for having a child. Now Eli, because Eli seen her moving, her not seeing her lips moving, but not hearing her voice, Eli thought that she was drunk. And he goes to her and says, "How long are you going to stay drunk? Put away your wine." "Not so, my lord," Hannah replied. "I am a woman who is deeply troubled. I have not been drinking wine or beer. I was pouring out my soul to the Lord. Do not take your servant for a wicked woman. I've been praying here out of my great anguish and grief." Eli answered, "Go in peace, and may the God of Israel grant you what you have asked for." She said, "May your servant find favor in your eyes." Then she went her way and ate something, and her face was no longer downcast. You know, I spoke about routines, and after going to the Lord in prayer in the morning, whatever burdens, whatever anguish, it's lifted. They have that song that says, "Burdens are lifted at Calvary, Calvary, Calvary. Burdens are lifted at Calvary." And I am really encouraging you today, whatever is deep on your heart, whatever is troubling you, take them to the Lord in prayer. Go down and make your supplication, make your request known to him, as Hannah did. You know, Hannah didn't know what the outcome was, but she knew her God was bigger and mightier than her problems. Yes, she couldn't have a child. Yes, her rival, the other wife, had children, and she didn't have any. She didn't feel whole as a woman. She wanted her own baby, and she went to God with that request. Early the next morning, they arose and worshipped before the Lord, and then went back to their home at Ramah. Elkanah made love to his wife Hannah, and the Lord remembered her. So in the course of time, Hannah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, saying, "Because I asked the Lord for him." So she went to God, she petitioned him with a pure heart, and her request was answered. Her request was made known to the Lord and answered. And she gave birth to Samuel. And we know that Samuel was favored and blessed from birth. I'm going to continue with chapter 1. When her husband Elkanah went up with all his family to offer the annual. So when he went up to offer the annual sacrifice to the Lord to fulfill his vow, Hannah did not go. She said to her husband, after the boy is weaned, I will take him and present him before the Lord, and he will live there always. Do what seems best to you, her husband Elkanah told her. It is so good when you have a partner who is on the same page as you. This was the first son that Hannah bore him, and he didn't say, you know what, this is my only son with you. No, I'm not going to let him stay with a priest. No, but he was on the same page. And when she said, you know what, after, and she gave Samuel to the Lord, to Eli, at a very young age. It says after he was weaned, so as a baby. And then she said, stay here until you have weaned him. Only may the Lord make good his word. So the woman stayed at home and nursed her son until she had weaned him. After he was weaned, she took the boy with her, young as he was, along with a 3-year-old bull, an ephah of flour and a skin of wine, and brought him to the house of the Lord at Shiloh. When the bull had been sacrificed, they brought the boy to Eli, and she said to him, pardon me, my lord, as surely as you live, I am the woman who stood here beside you praying to the Lord. I prayed for this child, and the Lord has granted me what I asked of him. So now I give him to the Lord. For his whole life he shall be given over to the Lord. And he worshipped the Lord there. And we're going to look at Hannah's prayer. So Hannah's prayer, her request was granted to her. She had her son and she fulfilled. Remember, I said to you how many times we make promises to God. And when God grant us our request, we forget to go back and do what we promised. But Hannah, a real good example, she went and did what she said she was going to do. Then Hannah prayed and said, my heart rejoices in the Lord. In the Lord my horn is lifted high. My mouth boasts over my enemies, for I delight in your deliverance. There is no one holy like the Lord. There's no one besides you. There's no rock like our God. Do not keep talking so proudly, or let your mouth speak arrogance. For the Lord is a God who knows, and by him deeds are weighed. The bows of the warriors are broken, but those who stumbled are armed with strength. Those who were full hire themselves out for food, but those who were hungry are hungry no more. She who was barren has borne 7 children, but she who has had many sons pines away. So you see, she didn't only have Samuel. God gave her more children. So yes, she gave Samuel to the Lord, but it didn't stop there. So, God was faithful to her. The Lord brings death and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and raises up. The Lord sends poverty and wealth. He humbles and he exalts. He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the needy from the ash heap. He seats them with princes and makes them inherit a throne of honor. For the foundations of the earth are the Lord's. On them he has set the world. He will guard the feet of his faithful servants, but the wicked will be silenced in the place of darkness. It is not by strength that one prevails. Those who oppose the Lord will be broken. The Most High will thunder from heaven. The Lord will judge the ends of the earth. He will give strength to his king and exalt the horn of his of his anointed. Then Elkanah went home to Ramah, but the boy ministered before the Lord under Eli the priest. And I've stopped at, so 1 Samuel 2. So 1 Samuel 2 verse 10. So that's where I've stopped. I've stopped at verse 10. And you can go and read it yourself. You can go and read Samuel. You can go and read it, because this is such a wonderful story of Samuel. You know, God gave him to Hannah, and then after, he really fulfilled his destiny, And I want you to think today, what is your destiny? That's what I'm going to leave you to think about. What is your destiny? What is that destiny that God has given you to fulfill? The impact that you have. I am encouraging you today. You have an impact, whatever it is. And I listened to this sermon where this preacher was saying, wherever you are, it could be that your impact is with your children, to grow them in the way that they need to grow, to be really impactful, to be citizens who make a great impact. It could be that could be your destiny, that could be your role. Whatever your destiny is, I really encourage you today to hold fast to it and do your best work. And I leave you know that being an English teacher is getting dark as you my light is going, but being an English teacher, I just like my poetry. I like my I'm gonna turn this to the light maybe. I like my I talked a lot about literature, poetry, so I leave you with this poem, and it's by Dean Briggs, and it is entitled Do Your Work. And this has been an encouragement to me, and I hope it will be an encouragement to you as well. Do your work, not just your work and no more, but a little more for the lavishing sake, that little more which is worth all the rest. And if you suffer, as you must, and if you doubt, as you must, do your work. Put your heart into it and the sky will clear. And then out of your very doubt and suffering will be born the supreme joy of life. So today, I encourage you, do your work, whatever it is, do your work. Bye for now, until next week at 7.